Hello and welcome to Demian Allan's astrology channel. Please like the video you're about to see and also become a subscriber because it all helps us spread the word of astrology. Today I'm going to talk about Uranus, the planet of liberation, change, disruption, chaos, liberation, you name it, entering into Gemini this year. How that's going to affect us all and how it's going to affect the 12 zodiac signs from the sun signs and the rising signs as well. So this video is going to explain about this particular transit of Uranus going into Gemini. So let's begin. Uranus has an 84-year cycle, so it spends about 7 years in each sign of the zodiac. And as it does that, whatever planet, whatever zodiac sign or house that it transits or travels through, it will affect that particular zodiac sign or that house in new and exciting ways. Over the last nearly 7 years now, we've had Uranus in Taurus. It first ingressed into Taurus in around about spring of 2018, before going back into Aries, and then in 2019 re-entering into Taurus. I think we could all agree that since that particular period of time that life has changed quite a bit. It's been a very difficult time for many of us in world, and a lot has changed. Now in modern astrology, Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius, and some schools of thought think that Uranus is exalted in Scorpio, which means that its fall is in Taurus, which means that Uranus cannot function well in Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign, it's fixed in nature, it's stubborn, it's grounded. Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, and therefore it has quite a similar energy to Mercury in a lot of ways, but it also has similarities with the planet Mars, I think, the unpredictability of it. So in Taurus, it's not actually been allowed to function at all. It's actually found it very, very difficult. If we think about agriculture, if we think about property, if we think about the financial aspect that's come in the last 7 years, if you think about the pandemic, the symbolism is very strong with the energy of Uranus in Taurus. So we've had to think in different terms. Our everyday existence, the more mundane matters, our routines, which has come under the rulership of Taurus, has changed dramatically, particularly since the pandemic. Stuff like working from home, how we earn our money. And therefore, it's been an incredibly difficult time because Uranus has not been able to function and Taurus has not held the energy of Uranus particularly well. And so, on July the 7th, 2025, Uranus, for the first time in 84 years, will go into the zodiac sign of Gemini. And Gemini is an air sign. It's mutable by its quality. So it's changeable, adaptable. And if we think about Uranus as the modern ruler of Aquarius, which is also an air sign, then we can begin to see that actually Uranus can function better in Gemini than Taurus. Has a better energy to it. And therefore, we can expect that things begin to move far quicker than they have done. It's less of a sort of immovable force that's been in the background. Now, for a lot of us, we're going to feel really kind of unbalanced at first, because when an outer planet goes into a new sign, as I'm recording this at the end of March, we've just had Neptune go into Aries on the 31st of March. Check out a video that I've done on that. It sort of destabilizes situations. We have to get used to the outer planet and the energy that it's going to bring in. So we expect Uranus in Gemini to be a quicker pace, and it to disrupt and enlighten and awaken the values of that particular zodiac sign and the house that zodiac sign, i.e. Gemini, and the third house, what that rules as to see the behavior of what's going to come from this. So we would look at transportation being disrupted, or new ways of transportation coming out, cheaper ways. We would look at communication, which means the technology, particularly how we use technology on an everyday basis, speeding things up, making things even quicker than they are now. The way that we communicate in different spheres, in different ways, that's going to help us all to feel that our lives are actually moving forward. Uranus awakens new values. Uranus disrupts, breaks things apart, and then rebuilds it. Uranus is unpredictable. Uranus is, in astrology, it's a strange one because it's the planet that will give you, in terms of the more predictive qualities, it's really reliable, but also it's the most inconsistent planet in a way. It's hard sometimes to predict what Uranus is going to do. It's the ruler of the unexpected. Here's the thing that I feel is a big thing that's going to be really looked at, and that's education system. Because the third house in Gemini rules the intellect, the education on a collective basis. So particularly in a lot of countries in the Western world, a review of how we educate our children, how we educate our children with technology and the use of it. How has technology benefited and how it's not benefited? What do we want our children to learn? How is technology looking at job opportunities for the future? It is going to cause disruption in that area. So the education system as it stands now will be reviewed, and new policies will come through and new ways of learning. And this could include the AI technological revolution that's currently going on as being a main part of Uranus and Gemini. So we could find that maybe there is no teachers in the classroom by the end of the 7 years, that maybe it is done by robots. Or those seeds certainly coming out there as well. How we travel to work. Remember, Gemini is a movement sign. It's mutable in its quality. It wants to travel forward. It wants to get from one place to another, particularly short distance travel. Uranus is also the ruler of aviation and planes. So we expect changes within how we get in planes and where we go to other parts of the world. Uranus, but first of all, it causes that chaos to rebuild it. And it's very, very an energy that's quite heightened state. It rules electricity. Is one of the rulers of Uranus, one of the many rulers of Uranus. And so under a Uranus transit, we can feel very much that we're in a sort of state of flux and everything is heightened within us. But this is different from the disruptive influence of Uranus being in Taurus. It's faster moving. Now, a lot of you might be watching this video and go, well, yeah, Demian, the politics is changing hugely at the moment at a huge pace. And I always say when an outer planet is about to move from one side to the other, before it does that, you start to get the murmurs of how that is going to manifest. Hence, that if you see the politics now and what's going on, things are moving very, very quickly. Maybe not to all of our liking, maybe liking doesn't really matter, but things are moving quickly. And Gemini wants to communicate, wants to engage in that communication. The opposite sign to Gemini is Sagittarius, which is also mutable but fire, which can scatter as well. So we're going to have to be really careful that we know what we actually want in life. Because if we don't, as a collective, there's like loads of ideas, but nothing actually gets done. That can be the more negative aspects of Uranus in Gemini. So, but we need to be adaptable and we need to be open. So this is a really kind of important time. And if we look at it, the last time that Uranus is in Gemini, sort of the late 40s and early 50s, we can begin to gauge maybe some of the stuff that sort of went on there as a reference as to what's coming up as well, in terms of economics, in terms of political aspects that come in, that affect us all in some way. Gemini teaches us to use our intellect, to use our ability to communicate with others, to get our points across. That's what it's there for. And so with Uranus, we're going to be communicating in a different way with each other, but also on the world stage. How we interact is going to be liberated from the restrictions of our own making of how we do that. So communicate in a completely different way after the 7-year cycle has ended. And that's really kind of exciting. Now, what I'm now going to do is look at the 12 individual sun signs stroke rising signs as to how it's going to affect each sign. So the first one I'm going to look at is Aries. This is for Aries sun sign and Aries rising. So Aries, if you look at the last 7 years, a lot of what's been disrupted and awakened is how you earn your money, the financial aspect, which has probably been a little bit like a roller coaster, that you've had to be adaptable. And perhaps in that period, you've made quite a lot of changes in how you make your money, or had a couple of jobs or a couple of roles within the last 7 years. It's also your value system has had to change in terms of how you value yourself when dealing with others and dealing with the financial elements. So your world view of finances, money, and what you have in the bank and what possessions you have had to change dramatically over these last 7 years. Now, as we go to Uranus, going into your third house, your third solar house, that's going to bring out a huge amount of change in the way that you communicate. You're under the umbrella of a lot of the themes that I've just been talking about the last 10 minutes, about how you communicate, about how you learn, about how you deal with short distance traveling, a lot of movement coming up, a lot of different ways of communicating. If you've got like a business where you're thinking, well, how do I get my business across? How do I market it? Well, I tell you what, when that Uranus on July the 7th goes into Gemini, that's going to really liven things up for you. It's going to make you very aware of new innovative ideas about how to get your points across in such an exciting way. It's also going to make you far more adaptable in your everyday life. You see, when Uranus was in Taurus, it was in aversion to your own sun sign or rising sign. You couldn't really kind of see it. Uranus was in Taurus was not doing you any kind of favors at all. With Uranus and Gemini, it makes a natural sextile aspect to your sun sign or your rising sign. Therefore, you can see the energy, you can feel it, and it complements your personality and the way that you engage in life. So this really kind of helps you. So that's a really kind of strong aspect for you. Look at stuff about education, wanting to learn unusual subject matters, training in unusual disciplines. That's going to really kind of begin to take focus for a lot of you under the umbrella of this energy. It's going to be exciting. You know, your mind wants to learn. Your mind is coming up with new ideas all the time, and you want to debate, and you want to engage with people, and you want to communicate these ideas to a bigger audience. You know, just be careful you don't scatter yourself too much under that umbrella. There's a lot of that energy is kind of shifting around for you over the next 7 years. And it's going to enliven your intellect. It's going to enliven your curiosity to the point where I think for a lot of you, there's going to be so much change on the everyday basis, even to the more mundane aspects. That's going to be exciting and stimulating for Aries, because Aries like to feel like they're moving forward. So I feel like this is really good, this Uranus. I think you Aries have had Uranus in Aries, came in 2011. So that was quite disruptive for you till 2018. Then you've had Uranus in Taurus for the last 7 years, which is in aversion to your own sign. And now you've got Uranus in Gemini, which actually complements you. So suddenly Uranus has given you a little bit of a respite, and it's unpredictability that you actually have a bit more control of than you've had over the last 14 years. Okay, Taurus sun sign, Taurus rising. Okay, I just think a lot of Taurians are just going to be so pleased on July the 7th as it leaves. I think you're just all going to be sort of celebrating, a lot of you. Just look, bearing in mind, so what's going to happen is that Uranus goes into Gemini on the 7th of July, and then it retrogrades, and then it will go back on the 8th of November back into Taurus, and then it will finally, I think about the 26th of January, it will go into of 2026 back into Gemini. So you do, for some of you late degree Taurians, you've still got the energy of Taurus, slightly of Uranus and Taurus, slightly to deal with, and between November and January. So just be kind of aware of that. But for a majority of you, you're not going to be kind of affected by that, by Uranus re-entering into Taurus. But I do think for a lot of Taurians, the unpredictability of Uranus doesn't bode well with the Taurus, the natural need for security and routine and stability. And a lot of Taurians and a lot of clients that I've had over the last 7 years who've been Taurians have had to really be quite adaptable and allow things to play out, and it's been a bit chaotic, and it's challenged the stability of them a lot. And it's probably shaken them up a bit in terms of getting them into new routines, looking at life in a different way, and being more receptive to change and having a better understanding of change, which is inevitable in life. So I think in some ways that's actually been quite good. But at the same time, I think that for a lot of Taurians, the inner security has been kind of rocked, and I think they found that very difficult. So what to expect with the Gemini? Well, when Uranus goes into Gemini, the financial element of your life is the thing that's going to be changeable. And again, Taurians might sort of go, oh no, because they like stability. So the way that you make your money could be interesting if you become open to it. And that's what I always say about Uranus. If you're open to the changes that will come along, it's not actually that disruptive. It's when you try to hang on to old ideas or old ways of doing things, which, let's be honest, some Taurians can do, in fact, most Taurians can do, then that's when Uranus becomes disruptive and problematic. So I feel like for you, actually, all of you, you're in a position where you're going to be looking at your finances, how you earn your money, and looking at new and interesting ways to earn money and your relationship with money and the money that you earn. And I think that's really kind of important, particularly for you self-employed Taurians. You know, this could be very enlightening for you and inspiring and in a completely different way to what you've experienced before. And if you allow that to kind of happen, then it's going to be exciting. Also, how you value yourself. In today's society, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on which side of the fence you're on, we value ourselves a lot by the money that we earn. And for majority of people, you know, if you don't feel you're earning enough money from what you do, then that can create a chip in your shoulder and make it quite difficult. Well, Uranus going into your second solar house, Taurians, is going to affect the way that you value yourself with money, and it might mean that you have a different take on it. So like the law of manifestation and what you can attract in terms of financial, those kind of ideas might be good to start to put into action, because Uranus works on the higher octave of Mercury, and Mercury is the planet of buying and selling. So the fact is that you could actually create quite a lot of money if you choose to engage in that occupation of looking at your relationship with money from the past, changing the way that you look at your money and moving forward with it. And then that's going to make you actually feel more secure, because you're working on an inner level, not just an external level. So Taurians do have a little bit of work to do with Uranus in Gemini, and I think it's going to be interesting. It's not going to be as unstable as it's been over the last 7 years. Certainly, I think you've got a bit of a calmer time coming with Uranus in Gemini, and I think that you know, in your solar house, or particularly Taurian ascendants, you know, Gemini is the ruler of your second house. So particularly with Gemini, Taurus ascendants, you tend to find that Taurian ascendants do have quite a lot of different ways of making money, or two jobs, or two, you know, because they got Gemini the ruler. So I kind of feel that actually Taurians will be happy with this movement of Uranus, but it's about how you earn your money. And it could be very interesting, because I think that for a lot of Taurians, the last 7 years has been them plodding away, which Taurians like to do. And suddenly there might be an increase in productivity to do with Taurians that increases the financial. Okay, Gemini Sun and Gemini Rising. Well, Geminis never like to be bored. And I can tell you what, particularly from July the 7th onwards, life's going to get very, very interesting. Very interesting. Maybe a little bit too busy in some sense. Maybe you're going to find it very overwhelming. Depends on how you handle the energy of Uranus. It's going to enlighten you. It's going to, maybe from an external point of view, from other people's viewpoints, make you look a bit kind of like, what's that person doing? They're making decisions I never thought they would. It's certainly going to speed up your thinking process and your curiosity and your ability to want to learn and take different languages on and travel and explore and try new things out and push yourself to the limits a little bit and get into sports that you never thought you would ever at all. But Uranus is an energy that is difficult to control. It does not like control. You've got to be working in that energy of kind of going, I just got to let things play out, see what happens. The challenge you're going to be for a lot of Geminis is keeping grounded. So any kind of stuff like meditation practice is really going to be help. This is affecting your first house. And the first house is the house of you. That means your body. That means your carriage. That means how you respond and interact with life. So Uranus is going to put you on a slightly different wavelength to a lot of people. This could be, you could be a person that's, working as an accountant who suddenly goes, you know what, I'm going to teach Kundalini yoga. It's that kind of switch that happens, that you might want to embrace higher frequencies, higher vibrations that enlighten other people and teach other people what you've picked up and what you've learned. It could be something that's completely different and no one else ever taught before. This is the kind of energy you're dealing with that energy of Uranus in your own sign or in your first house if you're Gemini rising. It's completely different. It's slightly wacky. It's slightly eccentric. It brings about new ways of looking and exploring things and how we deal with issues. It's like, it's going to be exciting and it's going to be like a roller coaster. But like I said, if I look at the basic personality drives of a Gemini, then what is it? You know, they're an air sign, they're mutable. The one thing they do not like is boredom. And so they're not going to get that boredom under the energy of, Uranus. It's just not. It's going to open up different ways of looking at life and connecting with others in completely different ways and forming new relationships. Very, very different to what you've experienced. Uranus has been in your 12th house for the last 7 years. It's been clearing the debris. It's been getting rid of the subconscious or old patterns of behavior, and actually quite drastic ways. So when it goes into your first house, it's not an internal process that's going on, it's external. All of the stuff of the last 7 years that's been going on the inner work starts to externalize itself to the world around you, and other people see the changes that come in. And it's like learning the subject and then teaching it. That's basically the energy of it. But it's enlightening, it's liberating. So your personality and your structure and the way you present yourself to the world is going to completely change during this period. That means the clothes that you wear, the way you engage with yourself, the way that you have your hair, the way that it's going to change all of that over a 7-year period. Not on July the 7th, every Gemini is going to change, but we never know. But it's certainly going to bring out a completely different presentation of yourself to the world, and in doing so the world responds to you in a different way. But the way that you present yourself is with freedom of expression and a sense of, I don't really care what other people think, to be honest. I don't really care. I'm going to do my own thing, thanks very much. That's what's going to fundamentally change with you Geminis. Okay, Cancer sun sign, Cancer rising. I talked about in just a second about Gemini and the 12th house, but this is what I'm going to go back into, because Uranus has been you know, traveling in your 11th house from 2018 to 2025, which is the house of friendships and the financial, what you get from if you're employed, money that you earn from that, groups and societies and the collective and stuff like that. So a lot of Cancerians have felt like they've been in the zeitgeist, or, you know, for the last 7 years and really kind of focused on that and experienced a lot be going on that side. Now, July the 7th, Uranus goes into your 12th house. So the 12th house is the house of two worlds. Whatever those worlds might be, it might be dreams, it might be retreats, it might be meditation, it might be spirituality, it might be creativity. It's the subconscious, it's the unconscious. It's the way that where we go to retreat from the world. It's our communication with something that's greater than ourselves. Uranus in a transit in a 12th house, as you're going to experience when it goes into Gemini, you Cancerians, is like a giant Hoover, bringing up every bit of subconscious, unconscious pattern of behavior that has caused you issues. And it's going to go, right, confront them, get rid of that, get rid of this. Because Uranus doesn't take any prisoners. Uranus is very, very direct and very clear. I said this earlier in the video. It has very much a similar relationship to Mars, actually. Although it's known in modern astrology as the higher octave of Mercury, I think it's got very close characteristics as like Mars. It's kind of brutal sometimes, you know. And so if there's things rattling in your subconscious that, you know, you've been wanting to deal with, which, to be honest with you Cancerians, does happen, because you're very absorbent and you're based a lot on memories and emotions and how you feel. And sometimes emotions and memories can get trapped, and they're in the background and they come up now and again in sometimes your behavior. So Uranus is going to clear out that. It could be, first of all, through dreams. It could be through a creative project that just brings up stuff. It could be through a new spiritual practice that allows you to get in touch with that particular energy. But it's there, and it's huge, and it's going to encompass a real clear out to give you freedom. So in 7 years' time, when Uranus goes into Cancer, you can express that freedom in completely different ways. And it's hugely changeable on the inner level. So on the outer level, it doesn't look like there's much change going on. On the inner level, there's a huge amount that's going to take place. And that's really going to bring in a completely different energy to what you've experienced before. And Uranus does that. It brings that stuff up to the surface, goes, deal with it, you deal with it, you move on. If you don't, it brings it up again, and it brings it up again, and it brings it up again, until you kind of go, oh, actually, I've got to deal with this. And that's what's going to happen. For you Cancerians particularly, you just got to be very much, as long as you've got a relationship with the other world or something that's greater than you, then actually Uranus can be really, really positive for you, because it means you can engage in that higher octave energy in a way that's going to help you to get to grips with some of the patterns of behavior that in the past has actually affected you. And you've gone, I don't know why. I don't know why I respond this way at that particular time. Uranus will enlighten that and liberate you from that. So really, really strong energy that you're going to be working with Uranus in your 12th. Okay, let's move on to Leo. So Leo, sun sign, Leo rising. So you Leos have had you have had Uranus in your solar 10th house, or your 10th house if you're a Leo ascendant, which is the house of career. So since 2018 onwards, career for most Leos has been incredibly unpredictable and changeable and enlightening and liberating and disruptive and chaotic. And you're probably now in the position where you go, if I look back 7 years ago, hang on, how did I get to where I am now? But if you look more closely, you'll also realize, well, hang on, the thoughts and feelings I had about my career and my aspirations has completely changed since that particular period. But in order to do that, everything's changed, you know, about how I view my career, how I view how I want to be seen in the public, how I deal with authority figures. You see, a lot of Leos have sort of gone into more self-employment over the last 7 years. They have found it much more difficult to work for other people. And it's because that Uranus transiting the 10th house. So what's going to happen next? Uranus is going to go into your 11th house from July the 7th on this year. And the 11th house is the money that you earn from the career changes that you've made over the last 7 years. So if you've made changes in your career, this means you're more liberated, you've got more freedom, then the next 7 years you should begin to benefit from that a little bit more financially than you have done. Secondly, it's the 11th house rules friendships and connecting with people on the collective and having ideas. On connecting with people who have similar ideas to yourself. So groups and societies and will all become much more important than they have done in the past. And this is really interesting because in modern astrology, Uranus rules the 11th house naturally. So again, it's bringing in that energy of connecting with others, connecting with the collective, having revolutionary ideas that serve humanity in some way. They come from a spiritual perspective, a political, economic, whatever. But it's going to make you want to connect with others who are similar to you. And therefore, that's where the liberation comes from Uranus. That's where it's coming in, of meeting unusual people who have unusual ideas that you feel, do you know what, I actually get that. I get those ideas. And that could only happen when you look back because of the changes that you've experienced over the last 7 years in how you view your career and how you want to be seen in the world. There's always a relationship between one house and the other, or one sign of the zodiac and the other. And when a planet transfers into that sign, you have to look back and go, okay, what's happened there to move forward. And so if you get the changes and be adaptable to the changes that come in over the last 7 years in your career, then you're going to benefit when it goes into the 11th house. You're going to connect with others on a larger scale here. You know, and it's kind of the house of good fortune, 11th house, but at least in traditional astrology it is. So, you know, there's a bit of fortune about who you connect with, but it's connected with people in unusual ways and different ways, or making friendships with people who look at life in a completely different way to what you've seen the world through. But again, you'll be open to that because of the last 7 years, and you'll get a lot from that. Okay, where are we? Virgo. Virgo sun sign, Virgo rising. All right, okay, so it's interesting because for you guys from July the 7th onwards, Uranus is going to enter your 10th house, and that is the house of your career. Major changes for you coming up in your career, how you view your career. If you're on a sort of a trajectory of the steady career, then things are going to change over the next 7 years. I tend to find when Uranus goes into a house, things happen quite quickly. It's not like, oh, you have to wait a couple of years before things start happening. They happen quite quickly, at least in the first year. So for Virgos, Virgo rising, this is really going to be a big time for you. Is it going to be messy? Could be. Is it going to be exciting? Yes. Will in 7 years' time you be in the same career? I doubt it. I think you'll change careers. You'll want more freedom. You want more liberation in your career. You want to own yourself and be in charge of yourself much more. You'll want to do stuff in a bit more unusual. There is going to be changes that are going to take place, and you're going to have to get used to that and be adaptable to that. You know, Virgos are a mutable sign, so they can be adaptable, but they worry incessantly. And there is a lot of change coming up in your career, and the best thing you can do is go, I accept this change. I'm going to see where this takes me, because Uranus is a bit of a roller coaster, but it, as I've said before, it does liberate you from the restrictions of your own making. Essentially, it pulls you away from things that are not really working for you anymore and need changing, and that's the basis of it. So in a lot of ways, it's kind of going, well, you know, if you feel you're stuck, things will change. It also means if you're looking for work or looking for different careers, things are going to change here. What's interesting is it's been traveling in the 9th house, which is the house of education, particularly higher education. So if you've been in training or in a job with training or education, This period now with Uranus going into your 10th house might mean that you get the benefits from that. And you finish the training, and from the training you got more opportunities to try out new things and exciting things. There's going to be a lot of movement coming up location wise. There's going to be a lot of changes in how you see the world, how you view it. It's exciting, and I think you just got to enjoy it because it's not going to be boring, and it's going to bring out a whole new way of the way that you see your work, the routine of your work, and that can be really exciting and enlightening. And yes, okay, it's going to turn things upside down, but I bet you the end of the 7 years you're in completely different jobs. Okay, let's go to Libra sun sign, Libra rising. So this is much more now for you guys Librans. This is about higher education, training. You know, the element of bringing yourself and travel and just engaging with things. So over the next 7-year period from July the 7th, then you're going to find that you more likely that you're going to train in different disciplines, that you're going to enlighten in the world of spirituality, higher knowledge, astrology, you know, tarot. All this kind of stuff is going to start to fascinate Librans even much more than it has done in the past. You're going to get a lot more from it. You'll want to travel more. You want to explore. You want to engage in publishing a lot more in a new and unusual ways. You want to engage with new cultures. You want to be part of the media or run your own YouTube channel. You basically bringing yourself out there to the collective in a positive way that encapsulates who you are as a person and your individuality. And individuality is a word that's very strong with the Uranus energy. It brings about that kind of change of, I want individuality, I want to be seen as an individual, but it's also working in the collective as well. And I think for a lot of Librans, they're going to be connecting in ways and unusual ways that's far broader than they have experienced. And so therefore they're going to get a shot of new energy and new ideas. It's a very busy mind that's coming, so it needs discipline. It needs for you guys to actually kind of go, I've got these ideas, now I need to be disciplined to put them into action. So you actually kind of need the planet Saturn actually to help you out in this area, to give you that. Once you get that, it will work. Be open to the changes. You're going to be looking at the world in a very, very different way. Your basic philosophy of life is going to change through different disciplines and different things that you're going to be bringing in and going, right, I like a bit of that, I like a bit of this. And it will bring about just a complete change in how you view yourself within the world. And that's going to be very, very exciting for a lot of Librans. Okay, now we're going to go to Scorpio sun or Scorpio rising. Listen, Scorpios, I think you'll be pretty pleased about the Uranus factor coming out of Taurus. Last 7 years it's been focusing on your solar 7th house, which is relationships. So a lot of that side of things about relationships has been unpredictable and disruptive and chaotic and enlightening. And you know, you've had to really learn about relationships, the dynamic of relationships. I'm not just talking about romantic, I'm talking about personal, I'm talking about business, I'm talking about other people generally and how they view you and how they respond to you. Uranus will then go into Gemini on July the 7th, and that enlightens the 8th house, which is the therapeutic house, the house of other resources, the house of other people's money and how they invest in you as a person as well. So there's new and enlightening ways to look at the way that you look at the skeletons in your own closet, the way that you look into life's trials and tribulations and how you deal with that in a way that is going to give you a psychological better understanding, a more enlightening understanding. You know, I call it the house of therapy because it is where the psychologists dwell and the therapists dwell in and hold a torch to light up those areas of our lives that we need to light up to face fears and transform and become stronger and more purposeful. So Uranus does that in a very direct way. All of the things I've talked about is probably not actually scary for Scorpios at all. They're probably going, well, great, this is music to my ears, thank you very much. But Uranus is it doesn't dig, it bulldozes, and it brings it up and throws it about the room and goes, well, okay, which parts do you want, which don't you want? In modern astrology, Uranus is exalted in Scorpio. The idea of transformation, the idea of looking at things and letting go are two big themes that play out with Uranus and Scorpio as a sun sign or rising sign. So you can imagine that, this combination is going to really enjoy the energy together and get things moving in completely different ways. And that's exactly what it's going to do. And it means that Scorpio will feel much more in touch with their emotions, much more in touch with their motivations and where they're going and what they're doing. It also means that they will find that the people who value them, the people who want to invest in them, come from unusual sources, or perhaps people that you wouldn't expect to put their energy into you in terms of investment, or how they value you. And again, I would be open to that to see where it takes you. But there is a deep psychological understanding, a deep psychological transformation. So if there's been psychological wounds from the past, these next 7 years will certainly deal with those in productive and transformative ways. Okay, Sagittarius sun sign and Sagittarius rising sign for you guys. Okay, relationships, romantic, personal, business. This is all going to change. Over the last 7 years, for a lot of Sagittarians, it's been the thing that's been disrupted is probably majority of how they look after themselves, particularly their health, the daily routine of their health. And that's had to change over the last 7 years for a lot of Sagittarians. From July the 7th, Uranus goes into the 7th house, which is the house of relationships or the house of other people. And therefore, there is a change coming from other people. So the change is not coming from you guys, Saggies. It's coming from other people coming into your life that are going to change you. And these people that are going to come in, they may come in for a short period and then disappear. And they might come back in. It's going to be changeable. And they're there as catalysts, and they're there to bring about new aspects of looking at yourself and how you respond to other people. They're just going to be different and unusual characters, unusual people. And that means that it will give you much more freedom in your own expression to express yourself in a way that you haven't done previously in a different way. So the Uranus is really enlightening, and that's where the essence really comes in here. That's what really this is about. It's about being open to people's ideas, to the viewpoints, how they live their lives. It could take you into some very unusual places in terms of and how you look at life. Learn from others, take them on board. Now, there's going to be other people that could be coming to your life that be very unpredictable, and that's a difficult thing because it may unbalance you at times. So you've got to be careful of that. You've got to put boundaries in place because it's going to be a busy time for you. Over the last 7 years, you've had to look after your body and be very, very in tune with that in unusual ways. And what it is once you've got you structure your body, you allowed to put in better boundaries when Uranus goes in the 7th house, as it's going to do with you guys, and therefore you can hold the energy of other people far better without it disrupting your own health, your physical, mental, emotional health, like perhaps it previously did. So there is a relationship between the 6th solar house and the 7th solar house. If you don't put boundaries in, then everything's going to get crazy. It's all going to go up in the air, and you're going to have these relationships that are going to be a bit crazy and a little bit unpredictable, and they're going to draw out. That may happen, but it's about looking after yourself with this Uranus energy and how that's going to really kind of transform the way that you respond to other people, no matter who they are, whether you're completely against their ideas or not. Okay, Capricorn, sun sign Capricorn rising. This is the energy of how you look after yourself, emotionally, physically, mentally. Capricorns are known as hard workers. And in this way, there is a lot of work that they're trying to put into life. Now, Uranus comes into your solar 6th house and goes, right, okay, if you've not been looking after yourself, it will bring in and go, right, you need different ways of looking after yourself, different routines. That's going to help you mind, body, spirit kind of energy. And if you work with that, then you're going to feel great over the next 7 years. You're going to find different ways of embracing this energy and working with it and going, oh my God, this is fantastic. If you ignore it, then it's going to disrupt your routine, your daily life, to the extent where you'll be going, I haven't got this back. I don't know what I'm doing now. So you've got to really be kind of attuned to this. Uranus is busy on the mind. So it needs stimulation in the mind. It needs to be engaged in something. It needs to learn, is the key aspect of this. And your everyday life needs to be different as well. This is great for healing modalities, you know, great for if you want to become a healer, or you want to heal animals and stuff like that, unusual ways of working with health or alternative health. This is fantastic for all of that. It's brilliant. But if you resist it and you go, oh no, I don't like any of that, oh no, then it becomes an issue. Because essentially what's going on here is it's you looking at the things in an unusual way, and not looking at the body in the way that it's done in the past, looking in a completely different way, and being at service to others without sacrificing your own individuality. Classic Uranus in your solar sixth house. And if you get that right, you can serve humanity in a way without it taking up too much of your time, which is perfect for Capricorns. Okay, Aquarius, sun sign, Aquarius rising. So Aquarians, with the whole last 7 years, the disruption has come in the home environment over the last 7 years, changes in home, residence, things becoming quite unpredictable, basic routines being taken away. So it's been quite hard for Aquarians. Uranus goes into Gemini on the July 7th, goes into the 5th house. The 5th house is the creative expression. You know, it's the house of play and enjoyment and creativity. And it's the natural house of Leo. So there is a looking at how you express yourself over the next 7 years in interest in individual ways, and getting involved with your creativity in completely different ways to what you've done before. It's actually quite nice. You know, it's not the disruption that you've had over the last 7 years. You actually feel you can play a little bit more, get in touch with interesting hobbies or interests that really kind of grab you, connecting with others in interesting ways as well. And that whole thing about playfulness, the ability to respond to playfulness, is going to be really kind of a key aspect. You know, 5th house is also about sports. It's about children as well. So, you know, if you've got children, you know, particularly the eldest might have quite an enlightening 7 years coming up, with a lot of changes coming in, you know, or looking at different ways to raise children, or just working on your own inner child a lot, you know, and working on that basis of your insecurities that come through. You know, fifth house rules like restaurants, art galleries, all of those kind of things that we go and enjoy, the social interactions with others, really come up to the forefront, and that's where the changes will come in. Whereas probably for a lot of the Aquarians, they've been the home base. Suddenly they're connecting with others and they're getting out and about, and it's all creative, it's all self-expression. They find what's individual about them. Now, a lot of Aquarians would say, well, I know that because that's the main driver of Aquarians. But for this, it's really kind of really important. They find out what's the missing link with them in terms of their own individuality, and how they can celebrate that in new art forms, new ways of being and connecting with others. Okay, finally, Pisces sun, Pisces rising. Home life. Home life is going to change a lot for a lot of you. Relocating, moving home, you know, being very much or two homes, or suddenly you that whole aspect of your life is busy, or working from home, or working in one job and working from home. There's a duality there, and Pisces are going to kind of enjoy this, I feel, here. Pisces are naturally like change anyway, so Uranus is kind of quite nice for them in a lot of ways, and they're going to kind of get a lot from that. The last 7 years has seen a creativity and a self-expression really expand. Now it's to do with the home life, and unusual ways of being in the home, or reversals of fortunes in the home, things that are unexpected come out for Pisces, that they thought, oh right, okay, I never thought I'd live here, or I never thought I'd get this or get that. And as long as they got a certain amount of freedom and liberation within the home, they're all right. But yeah, you've got to be open to the changes that come along for you. Also, the sense of security about themselves as well, and where they gain that sense of security is less about them, and it's more about connecting with other people, or big ideas, or political groups, or spiritual groups, or artistic groups that really come up to the forefront for them. They're really keen to get really kind of involved in that, and to be seen in a different way, and to get the security from different aspects to what they've got before. And if they can be open to that, then this is really going to be really kind of good for them. If they resist and they want to keep to routines, that's going to be a bit more tricky for them. But most Pisces are pretty open to those kind of that sense of things changing. So I think they'll actually kind of enjoy it. But you know, the trick is not to scatter yourself in too many different directions. I think within the home environment, it means that things within the family reversals in the family might come about, or family members might re-enter one's life in unexpected ways, or things just move very, very quickly in that area. And again, you know, it's the place of the ancestors, so you might be much more conscious of the ancestor patterns of behavior from the past that you've kind of got to break as well. So you know, for Pisces, it's going to be really kind of a very enlightening 7-year period that's coming up, and it's just getting rid of the old strategies of coping with life in new and in different ways that gives you a sense of freedom and liberation from the way that you responded to life, particularly from, you know, your inner security, and that can only be good. Well, there you go. Lot to take in. So Uranus in Gemini, July the 7th till November the 8th, and then back in on the 26th of January on 2026. Listen, guys, thank you very much for watching. Look out for more videos. Please, you know, like the video, become a subscriber. It really, really does help. And look forward to Uranus in Gemini. Thank you for watching.